Hello and welcome to tonight's Get in Tune. I'm Michael Gracia and I've got a really fun show. Tonight there's a Kickstarter out for a comic called Nightfall. It's the third issue. And I got the creator and writer and actually publisher. He does a lot coming on. We're going to look at the Kickstarter tonight. We're going to be talking about a lot of fun stuff. I've actually got the chance to read a preview of the comic, and I really enjoyed it. So let's bring on the creator, the writer, and publisher, Brian Lambert. Hello, Brian.
What's going on, Mike? How you doing, man?
Doing good. Thank you for coming on tonight.
Man, thank you for having me. It's great to be out and about and not in my little cave creating for once, man.
Yeah, this actually, it's funny. This show is like a break for me. You know, I mean, I do work to get this show together, but for the most part, this is my hour and a half, whatever it is, of stepping away from drawing, stepping away from doing my work. Yeah. So I get you. It's really it's a nice feeling.
Yeah.
So as I said, I got a preview copy. Thank you for getting that to me, and I really enjoyed what I'm reading.
Thank you very much.
I think it's a great concept. I think it's written well. Characters are being introduced nicely. But before we get to the Nightfall story, can you tell us about yourself? Tell us how you got into writing comics. You know, were you a fan as a kid? What'd you read? Who were your influences? Things like that.
Well, I'm technically an '80s kid, but like the '90s boom of comics is, I don't know. I feel like if you're in comics and you're around my age, you have to have been influenced by the '90s in some form or fashion. Image, obviously, Jim Lee. Moving forward, Michael Turner, Justin Ponser was a great colorist who I followed. I even loved Cross-Gen Comics was probably one of my favorite, comic book publishers, even though they didn't last. So all of that kind of stuff, all that kind of big, I don't know, like it's like the what's it called? Like the hairband era of like comics, you know what I mean? Like it was like the big kind of rock star era.
When we had McFarlane and Liefeld and all those guys.
Yeah. So I really feel like at one point or another they made a whole generation believe that we can do it. You know what I mean? Like you guys can do it too. And I think that Image was a big turning point for that, where it was like, oh man, this is something that we could potentially, get into. So I kind of never gave up that dream, even though like it's not something I necessarily pursued heavily. Like I couldn't. I really didn't know how. So I went to school. I got my creative writing bachelor's degree. Eventually, because it didn't happen overnight, and it didn't happen when I was, 22 or whatever. So I did that, and then I got my business master's degree, and then then it felt like a good time, right? Because then I could plan, then I could figure out how to do what I wanted to do. And in that time of while getting my degrees, I wrote my first novel, Ascension: The Crucian Saga. And it's something I always wanted to do, these big kind of epic fantasy stories. And I started joining Facebook groups, man. This was like a couple years ago when Facebook groups themselves were like really awesome. Groups were really kind of, you know what I mean? Like you could really interact with a lot of people. It was on your feed. You could really see it. That's kind of changed now. You go into a group and it could be a group of 10,000 people and you get one post interaction because no one sees it. But when groups are really, really big, I got in a bunch of groups for fantasy writing, for writing in general, for comics, all that kind of stuff. I met an artist one time, and an artist was like, hey, man, he was doing one of those, which I know kind of to steer away from now. It was one of those, hey, man, if anybody wants to collaborate, like I want to put out a comic, like let's talk. And it's prior to me getting into the business, and I was like, oh, me and the guy had interacted before. I was like, oh, yeah, let's talk. And we put out the basics of the story. We put some ideas together and kind of went from there. The project never saw light, but it got me on the path, right? It got me networking with other people. And then so I started finding out more about like smaller conventions, because you can go to San Diego Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con, WonderCon, some of these huge ones, but you're not going to get discovered there. You're not going to hook up with people who are going to be doing the same thing. But if you go on to some of these small cons, you really can meet kind of like-minded people, of a lot of indie creators, a lot of people that you're already interacting with. You get to meet them face to face and like learn a little bit more. So I started doing that. I met some really great people. Greg Anderson Elize, who does Is None of the Were Spider. I met Jason Reeves from 133 Art, who does One Nation and Shangun the Jade Obelisk, a bunch of other comics. And then I also met Heath and Jones of Kid Comics. And those guys really, really helped me, in terms of like understanding, okay, hey, these are some of the steps you take to creating this. And I kind of went from there, man. Did a couple little small projects. Again, a lot of them, and what a lot of people, I guess, sometimes don't know is a lot of the projects that we kind of love sometimes never see the light of day. It's you and some guy who are, geeking out over ideas. You put some stuff together and you hope it works, and maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But it kind of starts you on where you need to be, and that's kind of what happened with me. Starting there, and then seeing it and seeing other people putting their thing in print and getting something in print, and having already published really helped as well, right? So I knew the publishing part of it, I knew getting it out there, but I didn't know the marketing aspects of comics and some of the creation aspects, which came later. But it was pretty awesome, though, to be honest with you. Yeah,
no, it's great because I've actually been involved in those type of projects too. Someone collaborating with a friend or something doesn't see the light of day. Things happen, and my favorite is going to a show and someone comes up to me, I got an idea, I think we should work together, and then nobody wants to pay,
right.
I'm not saying you don't, I'm just saying in general that's the way it usually goes. And it's not
I was at a convention over the weekend, and nice guy, right? But he had this card idea that he wanted to do or whatever. And it was basically like a battle card game, but like with music lyrics and da. And I was like, well, what are you going to do about licensing? Or what are you going to do about this? And it was one of those, well, we don't need licensing because we're just going to use the lyrics. And I was like, that's even worse licensing, even more difficult. But, it was one of those kind of like, oh, hey, like my idea, we should work together. And it's like, but did you think of the logistics of doing this? So, it happens all the time.
Yeah. Well, no, a lot of people don't realize the business and all the other stuff that happens behind the scenes. So, which is a whole other job itself. And when you're a publisher, you're wearing multiple hats. You're not just writing the stories or coming up with the ideas. You're actually doing, how do I get this funded? How do I print? Where do I print? Where's the marketing going to? Do you have help with any of that, or are you that one man machine?
I was for a while, but thank you, Lord, I have a really, really, really great marketer now. And he does basically 97% of all the marketing. I come out with an idea every now and again. But in terms of printing, I still have my printing agreements. I've done a couple short runs with Comic Wellspring. They're a really great company to work with. They're very communicative, and they're great guys. So I love working with them. I've interacted with Fairy Metal. My main printer is 133 Art Printing. So I have some of those relationships that have been built up over time, which is great. The publishing part is, like you said, you set up this podcast, right? And then that's your break from art. And so sometimes, the publishing and the business part is my break from writing. It's my break from staring at that computer screen that way. So it's a learning experience. You got to get the price points right and all these other things. And it's kind of funny. And I know that you deal with this in animation, right? Somebody will come up with an idea, no matter who it is. And they're like, oh yeah, you can just do it. Or you could just animate it. And they think that part of you can just do it is like this small. And you're like, dude, that's the entire, thing that it's not just an off and on switch. And so I think that's probably my largest job as a publisher at this point. Is like, I have to educate people when they come with their million, like you said, like their $1 million idea. Oh, it's going to be great. And you've got to educate them. Hey, that doesn't just happen overnight. There are 9 steps that we got to take here, and you've got to be here and in and involved in all of them.
Yeah. And I want to thank Christian for that comment. More like 1 million hours for the artist. And that is so true. I was actually talking to a buddy of mine yesterday who I'm working on an animation with. It was a person I wanted to do it for years. I wrote the story, but I didn't like the ending. And he's a voice actor. And I said, hey, how about maybe, you take a look, because he's written stuff too. And maybe you can punch up the ending for me. So he went through it. He made, he added a few extra jokes, and I kind of have to go through and edit it a little bit and see if I want those jokes to stay or whatnot. But, you know, he was like, I had to get this quick for you because I know you're doing everything yourself, animating, including backgrounds, all that stuff. He goes, that's going to take you months. Yeah, you know, right? He's like this. He understands. He's like, we're doing this for fun. And it's just something I want to animate. But he got it. He's like, oh, I can write for you. I could do the voices. I could do everything in a couple of hours for you. Yeah. But then you're going to take 2-3 months to animate this story.
Yeah, right.
And
right.
So yeah, it's a lot of work, a lot of different things. And when you're doing something like I do with animation, I got to think of voices and music and copy, you know, right now, copyright free, you know, royalty free stuff and everything. And there's just a lot more that goes into it. But yeah, so let me ask you about the comics. I was reading the little bio you sent me. And it said you were the creator of the book Ascension.
Yeah.
You were the author of that. So you wrote a book. Can you tell us about Ascension?
So Ascension is, like I said, that's that big fantasy. Like I see the Lord of the Rings poster behind you, so I was geeking out. Obviously,
okay.
I'm a big.
I'll move it a little bit so you can see it better.
You're right. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. So actually, when I worked here, so I have that vinyl somewhere, right, from Hollywood Video. This is I'm aging myself at this point.
Wow, Hollywood Video, I love them.
Right, yeah, right. So I used to work at Hollywood Video, and I have the 6-foot vinyl somewhere in my garage of the original. From that when they released it. Yeah, I'm a huge Tolkien fan. Even more than Lord of the Rings. I love the Silmarillion. I love all the history and all building all that stuff. And I know that the Amazon show is gonna. They keep talking about, it's thousands of years before, so it's got to be the Silmarillion, or at least have some Silmarillion parts in it. I don't know exactly what it's gonna be, but you know that's the case. So I love all of that stuff, and so culturally speaking, Tolkien had written a letter to his editor once, and he said that England doesn't have any mythology, and he said certain cultures do. Well, you have Norse and et cetera, but like England itself didn't have any mythology, which is the reason he wrote Lord of the Rings, because it's like a mythology, for England. And so I was thinking about my own upbringing. I was pretty young at the time, in my 20s, and I thought the same thing. And in terms of, again, culturally, Black culture doesn't have any mythology. Black culture. Now there are folk heroes, there are all these other things. There's obviously African mythology, but like Black mythology doesn't exist. And that was like my impetus to write Ascension. So like I said, it's high fantasy-ish type fare, lords and ladies, and it's about a group of knights, and they're also brothers who are thrust into the intrigue and all the plots and secrecy and et cetera of a kingdom, and a kingdom at war. So it basically charts their journey of being ardent, loyal supporters for this kingdom, for Avalon Kingdom they're part of, and Avalon's war against Lyonesse and Rome, and how they survive that, how they see that everything that they thought about their kingdom wasn't so great, and everything that they thought about everybody else wasn't so bad, and kind of the duality there, and the the grays and stuff. But like I said, it's real big high fantasy stuff, swords, a little bit of magic is introduced, history, all of it.
That's cool. Is that a comic or like a novel?
So that's actually a novel. Yeah, it's a novel.
And is it still available? Because that sounds very interesting.
Yeah, it's still on Amazon. All you have to do is search Ascension, the Crucian Saga. And Crucian is CHRUSON. That's the easiest way to do it. And is there a link from? By the way, scrolling bottom, winglessent.com is the website. It's the name of the publishing company. Can we get a link in there to Ascension? Or? Actually, yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Awesome.
So not only do you get a link to Ascension there, there's also a preview book you can download. I think it's like a 20-page preview of the next book in the series, which I'm slacking on writing at the moment because I've been doing this comic thing.
Yes. But speaking of the comic, before we get to the Nightfall, another thing you said, you were the creator and you wrote Justice. Now, Justice is a character that appears in Nightfall, but he had his own book before this?
Yeah, so Justice is actually running concurrently with Nightfall. We're on issue 2
Okay.
right now. We plan to release issue 3 in 2022, obviously.
Mhm.
Justice obviously started maybe like 2 years ago. Like you said, he's featured in Nightfall.
Mhm.
Issue 1, I'm very thankful and proud, was voted a surprise good read by comicattack.net. It was a top good read of last
That's
year.
great. Congratulations on
Um,
that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's how do I describe it? It is because when you're dealing with angels, when you're dealing with certain things, people get a certain opinion of it. But all my stories are based again in mythology, right? So Justice is
Yeah.
based off of Christian mythology, and it's
Yes.
treated the same way that, let's say, McFarlane treats Spawn, whereas the
Mhm.
story is a Christian mythology, but it's not a faith-based book. It's a book
Yes.
about a story about a character doing a thing. So Justice is in the Justice series. He has come down to earth because the voice of God has gone missing, and God plans to speak again. But if God Himself speaks, or their self, however you want to say it, speaks, that will destroy and restart creation in an instant. So
Okay.
God usually speaks through a proxy, and said
Yes.
proxy is missing. So Justice
Mhm.
wants to find said proxy, um, so that creation doesn't get destroyed, so that we have a cosmos. And
Yeah.
it's
I
and
like.
it's
I
the
like that idea.
yeah,
I'm sorry. You
it's
can continue, but wow, that's just like a really. I like that take. Um I'm a big mythology fan myself. I mean,
yeah.
I've read mythologies from around the world. I've taught storytelling on the college level. I always bring mythology
So
into it. Um, like you mentioned Tolkien. I love all that stuff. Um, and and I'm actually, I grew up. I grew up Roman Catholic, and
mhm.
I've always enjoyed the stories. Now,
Yeah,
whether I follow or believe in them, that's something different. But the stories were always fascinating to me, and having them as a springboard for your stories and storytelling, there's just so much you could do. Um, so I like the idea. So Justice is an angel who comes down to find basically the voice of God,
yeah,
is what you're
yeah,
telling
yeah.
me. Okay,
So
okay.
yeah. So the entire, and I like that you said that about like the story part of it, right? So
Hmm.
in the Wingless universe as a whole, we treat all mythologies as equal, right?
Hmm.
One, like you said, you study mythology as have I, right? So I love that. And the thing about a lot of mythology is there's so many similarities.
Yeah,
As you go back and read these stories, every mythology that you're gonna read about has a great flood. Every one of them, you know
yeah,
what I mean, has a
yeah,
Ragnarok, basically, on and on and
yeah.
on. They have all these similarities. So that's awesome. So when you mine from that content, you can be really very original, but also like truthful to the story you're telling and to the story you're coming from, without insulting
Yeah.
anybody, right? So you don't have to necessarily believe one is true or more true than the other. You're
Hmm.
gonna eventually, within Wingless Comics, you're gonna see Orishas, you're gonna see Igbo legends, you're going to see Papa Legba, you're gonna, you know what I mean? Like you're gonna see
Yeah,
Anansi,
yeah.
you're gonna see all these things, and it's very expansive. And like I said, it all is treated with the same kind of attention and care. One isn't
Yeah.
over the other. One of the things that I make very clear, well, maybe not too clear in issue 2 yet of Justice, but will
Hmm.
be very apparent very soon, is that our setup is like Marvel. You know, Marvel has the one above all, right? But it's like
Yeah.
non-denominational, and then everything
Yeah.
else under that. And it's the same
Yeah.
thing. Like, hey, you have one being entity that created all this, and everything else. On one end, you call them angels. On the other end, you call them Greek gods. On the other end, you call them Orishas. On the other, you know what I mean? Like, but they're all
Yeah.
these cosmic or entities that can interact and kind of they don't chart the human experience, right? But they
Mm.
change it, 100% with
Okay.
all their
Yeah.
interactions.
Yeah. No, that's great. I actually have a story I've been working on for years. Have the first issue kind of penciled out. It's like 100 and something pages. And when I mean pencil, I mean rough, like layout type of ideas, more thumbnails. I did
Hmm.
that. I'm like, I don't ever want to draw this now. So I got to find someone to draw it for me. But it kind of follows some of the stuff that you're talking about. There's differences, but the idea of myths kind of connecting and you know characters from different myths being able to interact is there in that story. So I love that you're doing that. I
Awesome,
love
awesome.
when people can work like that. Now with Justice, obviously, we can find the link on Wingless, ent.net.com. Sorry, and now Nightfall is this kind of epic story that Justice makes his appearances in, as well as other heroes. And you're on part 3, so you've had part 1 and part 2 done. Now you have part 3. Before I show the Kickstarter, how many parts is the Nightfall storyline going to be?
Nightfall wraps up with 5 parts.
So there's 2 more books in this after this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, because I'm loving what I've read already. So let me bring up the Kickstarter. Actually, before I bring up the Kickstarter, I'm going to bring up just a little bit of issue 1.
Mm-hmm.
I got, as I said in the beginning, all you guys, I got some preview copies so I could know the books that I'm talking about tonight. Yeah. And I got to say, I really enjoyed it. I've read each of the books twice now since I've gotten them. The last time was I finished the third one about 10 minutes before we got back on air. But I like to keep it fresh in my head. Now, this is part 1. I'm not going to go through the whole book, but I just want to show you guys how kind of the artwork, the style, how stuff. Now, this character right here is Justice, correct? Or
yes,
no?
The one with the wings is Justice.
Yeah, the one with the wings is Justice. And what was his name again?
Caliburn.
Caliburn. Yeah, sometimes I'm bad with names and words and stuff. So, and this is Prime.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if he had a name, but
that's Sakari. It just goes past real quickly in the very beginning there.
Yeah. So, but I just love the looks of all these characters here. So you got a lot, and each one has some kind of quote that you start your book on. And here's all. I tried
to do the like you said, like lore building, right? Where I try to make sure that the images, one for the cover, and then the quotes that we put in pertain to what's going to happen in the issue, so you can kind of get the vibe and the mood and the mode of it.
Yeah, and I love this look, and I you may have heard this, and one of the reasons I love this design is because it looks like the Stargate, and I'm a big Stargate fan. But it's this nice ancient. It's got this nice ancient feel to it. I love this demonic serpent-like creature coming in, and what I like too when I look at it, and I don't know if this is just. I got to go through the book again here, but it is. This feels, the way you colored it, more of a memory, correct?
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, that was more of a memory, and then you're coming in, so you're seeing a character right here lose his wings.
Yeah. So I got really lucky also with my art team, Fabio and Nestor. Well, one, I'm going to say thank you, Fabio, because Fabio actually said he loves to draw wings. So without him, I would be a little lost, right? And it's very rare that you're going to get an artist that says, I love to draw wings. So Fabio has done an amazing job. Nestor's always done a great job. It's just it's come together really, really well.
Yeah. We got a couple more quotes from Christian, who says, I saw the Justice preview on the site, and I like how most everyone smokes cigars. And then he also says, and again, I'm going to be bad here, but I also like the day. I love angels and demon stuff. I was big into Veritic, although this is different, and love the Preacher. So the guys.
Thank you.
And it says this. I like this guy's art better than Justice. Okay. I haven't seen the Justice book yet. I haven't been on the website, so.
So that Zero book is about, just FYI, that Zero book is about 2.5 years old. First project we did. Fabio, and the art that you see here is actually the finalized art for the series. We were testing out some artists, and that's not to take anything from them, but Fabio is very dynamic. He's just an amazing artist. So there is a different look and feel, and that's the reason why Fabio is where he is, and he's not going anywhere with us.
Yeah. I really like Prime's design a lot. I like his.
Yeah, it came
Now,
together very nicely.
do you design the characters and just have the artist design based on your thoughts, or do you let them kind of play and see what they could do?
Some of them. So it kind of depends. So Prime, Sakari, and Avery are from two other studios.
Mm-hmm.
In issue 1, we worked with Concept Moon Studios and Constant Hustle Studios. In issue 2, we only worked with Constant Hustle Studios. So Prime is a character from Concept Moon Studios, and they had his design, excuse me, basically laid out.
Okay.
Avery, as you see her in Nightfall, is different. I wanted her to have like what I call the stealth suit. So Constant Hustle Comics and Lawrence King let me kind of do my thing and let Fabio do his thing with just a little bit of, hey man, I wanted to look sleek and slick and blah blah blah, and he just kind of did his thing.
Yeah, let me get that the splash page right here. No, that's great.
Yeah.
And so he says, love the splash. And he also, Christian also asks, was this colored from pencils? So did this go through
it actually was.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we go straight from pencils right to color. And Fabio tells me anything about art, I'm just probably going to do it. But when we originally pitched, he asked if we could try that, and if the look would work. I trust him. I love his tonality. I love the tone quality. So I love going from pencils, actually, with him.
I got to be honest, I'm starting to play around a lot with that with my comics because I hate my inks so much that if I, and having the animation background, I do a lot of cleanup and a lot of clean line stuff that I think it could work very well that way for myself. But yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, until the comment was made, I didn't even kind of pay attention to it because this is the first time I'm looking at it on my computer. I've been reading it on my phone,
Okay.
So I didn't even notice looking at it at the size I was looking. This is just great. But I'm not going to share any more of this because when we get to the Kickstarter, people can donate and get, and catch up on all the stories. So let's not share that anymore. Stop share. And I'm going to share now the Kickstarter. So let me get to that page right there. And unfortunately, I can't show the video because there's something wrong with the Mac and sound and stuff. Eventually, I'm going to go back to PC on my computer. And then I shouldn't have that issue, but
I'm a Mac guy. I completely understand.
Listen, I love my Mac. I use it constantly, but for what's the word I'm looking for? Sometimes when Macs update, the paraphernalia stuff, like my Cintiq doesn't update, and then that stops working for a few months, and I can't work without it. So it's more of a business, change rather than a want of a change.
Yeah, I understand that.
So I haven't owned a PC in a very long time. I mean, I have a Surface for traveling work and stuff, but yeah, I haven't really owned a PC since before '95. So I've been Mac for a very long time. So you're looking for $2,500. You're already at $1,008, and it just launched today. So that's awesome. Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. All
right. That that's like amazing.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we try to do is, even with our campaigns, we don't fund the comic with the campaign. This is just a pre-order. So the comic, you've read it. So as you know, the comic itself is already done. And this is just for printing and getting it out, which is one of the things that I've been really ardent about. I hate having to wait. There's some projects that, it's a year and a half, 2 years now, and people are still, we'll get it to you sometime soon.
Yeah.
Sorry, this or that. No, I don't want to do that to people. We try to get ours out pretty quickly. We're on about a 3-month cycle of getting them out, and this will be no different. So we're really thankful for what we've already gotten so far. We're, again, almost half of the goal day one. And for me, it's only, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. It's not even, midnight. So we still
it launched it actually launched Western time, not Eastern time, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause I
Month of
think I
nine.
think yeah, because Kickstarter I think's Western.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
West Coast. Yeah. So,
yeah.
or you could choose that. I don't remember, but yeah, I'm loving these different covers that you got going on here.
Yeah, we always have a friendly battle of whose cover is the best. We never say who did which one, but we always have a behind the scenes friendly battle between the companies to see which one
Mm.
gets the most likes or the most orders. So
Yeah.
we really kind of put our hearts and our everything into them. To
Yeah.
choose, one because we're competitive, but two because we
Mm.
really want the best product for everybody. You know.
Yeah. I love this design of this character here, though. This is
Thank you.
gorgeous to me.
Thank you. Yeah, my guy Baylor, man. I think
Yeah.
he's still pissed off about his wings getting ripped off, but but yeah, he's one of my favorites, honestly.
Yeah, he's a great design there too. And this is some of the pages. Now, does this character here have a name? I forgot. The,
The girl?
no, the
Oh
one in the red cloak, the demon in the red cloak.
no, that's the bridge demon. He is not
Oh, the bridge
not
demon.
named. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
bridge demon.
Because I
Because
gotta
he
be
shows
honest,
up on the
first time I
bridge.
saw him, I thought Mumra from Thundercats. Uh,
Yeah, that was what I wanted to evoke. So it
okay.
comes from two places, honestly. Like one, I love Mumra and I love old cartoons,
Oh
hundred
yeah, who
percent. So
doesn't?
I
Yeah,
like that kind of homage type stuff. But then
yeah,
also there was a meme that went out like maybe 2 years ago, and it was like an animated GIF, and it was like, what would you do if you saw this on your drive? And it was really like a big red demon, like on
yeah.
the Golden Gate Bridge, and I was like, that would be cool. You know what I mean? So I felt like it was like the perfect time to marry the Easter egg lover in
Yeah,
me and say,
yeah,
yeah, hey, let's do a little, let's evoke these two um, things.
yeah. No, it's. I'm just looking at the art. I know it's a little small,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's great. This
like I said,
character is interesting. I'm very this girl here,
mhm.
Lux, right? Is her name?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
Lux. She's a very interesting character to me because you haven't done a lot to her, but you're setting her up for something. And I can tell she's going to probably play a very important role in the story once we find out more information about her. You
most
know,
definitely. And
I
one of the things that well again, so one I love big stories, man. I love but I love the well no I should say Hickman's done a really great job too. So I love his
hmm,
newer stuff, but I love Extinction Agenda. I love Inferno. Like I love those kind of big crossovers.
yeah,
Executioner Song was like my introduction as a kid to them, and I
hmm,
had to read that week to week, which then led me
yeah,
back to the old ones, right? So
yeah,
I love when you have a character that's like a linchpin of a
hmm,
story, but they don't know that they're the linchpin.
yeah,
And so for me, it was doubly pretty awesome because this is Lux is a character that is based on my little sister. I still
okay,
call her my little sister, even though we're both adults and she's 30. You know what I mean? Like it's ridiculous, but I'm sorry, I just can't not.
hey,
Um, so the character is based on that, and being able to put that character into this huge story and have these
yeah,
things kind of revolve around the choices she's going to make and she makes, to me that's
hmm,
it's one of the most fun parts of that, and you get that feeling like you said from even number one, regardless of what's happening around her, you can see things that are moving and the tile shift around her choices.
yeah, yeah, definitely. It's she's I'm excited. I'm really, I know that I read issue 3, but I want 4 and 5 right now. I want to see how this goes because I want to see, and me as a storyteller, I feel like you're really not going to see her come into her own until issue 5 anyway. So it's like you don't have to tell me. I just feel the
Yeah,
storyteller in me says there's still more to build on her, and by issue 5, she's going to be like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do.
yeah,
So
I like the way you think, sir. I like the way you think.
So I'm really eager to see how you build all this stuff up here. And I'm sorry if I keep looking down. I'm looking at this on my
No,
Cintiq,
no,
so it's not. I'm
no,
just
no,
letting you know. I'm not ignoring you here.
no problem at all. No problem at all.
So tell us about the Immortals. This is a bonus mini
Yeah,
issue.
yeah. So it's actually Immortalis.
Oh,
And I'm sorry to
Immortalis.
correct you,
Sorry,
but yeah,
no,
Immortalis.
I
So
didn't notice the I. Sorry.
yeah, yeah. So Brett Hillishim is a guy. He runs the Indie Comics Dispatch, and he's
Mhm.
always been a really, really good friend to Wingless Comics and Wingless Entertainment. And we've talked for 2 years now since both of us really started. And
Yeah.
he told me, man, it was like a year ago, right? He was like a year ago. He's like, man, I got an idea, but it's not ready yet. And once it's ready, I'm gonna pitch it to you. I'm like, okay. And like I said, it's like a year ago, so I forgot until maybe 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And he dropped this script on me. He was like, check your email. Okay, whatever. He dropped this script on me. He dropped some character descriptions on me. He dropped the summary for the first story arc. And I read through all of it in about 30 minutes, and I was like, yeah, dude, we got to do this. Like, this
Yeah.
is, he was like, he made it match, because obviously it's a story that's based in the past. And like we were saying, Wingless Comics is built on a lot of lore. And obviously as time goes on, we're going to be able to study that lore, you know what I mean, in the past. So he was able to weave this story that's historical fiction at this point, but it's based on true events. And he was able to just effortlessly weave it into the tapestry that I've already kind of created with Wings Comics, and it was just dope. So it's about the fall of Rome. So Constantinople was the last Roman civilization, for those that don't know. And it obviously it fell. And Constantine was the last king. He has a General Lucas, who is obviously his right-hand man. We introduced some mysticism, for lack of better words, with a character called Gailu. And you see how Gailu and Constantine's love affair brings about the fall of the Roman Empire. And once you give me all of the Roman Empire, love, jealousy, etc., I'm sold. And he's a very visual storyteller as well, which is really, really great. And also, it's pretty cool to work with people that are not just like-minded, but like they're your friends before the business. They're your friends before the things. And then you get to do that and create something great. And so it's been an amazing opportunity. So in Nightfall, for the first time, because Nightfall usually just ships by itself. We'll give some posters out, we'll do that kind of thing, but we really try to trim it down. Immortalis is going to ship with Nightfall as the backup feature.
Okay. That is great.
The zero issue, the mini issue.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. It sounds like a great story too.
Yeah.
So
Can't wait for it.
You're getting some pinups. Oh, interesting. I said that I thought Lux would be and she's titled The Key. So interesting.
Yes. And placement has a lot to do with a lot of things,
Yes. So you got the angel, the icon, the rogue, the elemental, the key, the mercenary, the enforcer, the mastermind, and the exile. Yeah. This is great.
Yeah. So I wanted to, as you showed in the PDF, we have a little brief description, because again, it's not like we're Marvel Comics, right? Where you can just go in and say, oh, War Machine is, Iron Man or whatever. So we try to give a little bit of a brief, hey, this is who they are, in case you haven't read before, and here we go. So you just get a little bit on everybody. So then our character development is just slightly easier and stuff.
Yeah, totally. And then you got the shirts that are part of it. And what does that say? It's hard. Is that to say the Blaxis?
Yes, that's the Blaxis. So Jibamole Anderson, who is a professor, theologian, scientist, he's got 11 billion titles. Very, very great guy. He's been in the industry for quite a bit of time. He's got books in the Smithsonian. Like, he's a great guy. So we have this idea to bring together like-minded people. The idea of Milestone, or the idea of Image, was predicated originally on like, hey, we don't like what's happening over here on this side, right? So we're gonna all team up together, do some great stuff together, and then like we're gonna release it. And so the Blaxis is that same emotion of or like he likens it to like the Wu-Tang, you know what I mean? Like a bunch of different MCs kind of coming together and forming this, collective. And they watch each other's back, you know what I mean? They make sure everything is good and blah 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 blah. But they're not like dependent on each other. We're not dependent. They're not dependent on my sales, or I'm not dependent on their sales. We are just people who have a common goal. We're together. We're going to push for each other to do the best that we can, and do that. So myself, Dorothy, John, Tony Cudrell from Advent Comics, Jibba
which is
Anderson,
coming up,
and the list continues to grow. Have kind of banded together to show like a united front in terms of what we want in comic production and what we want in quality and storytelling.
Well, I just want to say here, and Christian mentioned, goes, I scrolled ahead, and that Larry Stroman cover is kick ass, and I just got to it, and wow.
yeah, right. Yeah. Spirit's Destiny #3, which we're gonna give away with our campaign.
That's great.
It's super dope. It's super dope. Larry did a great job.
When doesn't he?
Right.
So, and this is the team and stuff here. So you got a lot of great. Looks like you got a great team together. Let's take a look at some of the rewards that people can get for. I'll just get a cover on here. We'll go right here. We'll use this one. I just like the way the wings are spread. So, so let me scroll over here. So for a basic $10, you get the PDF, you get a digital character poster. It's posters of Justice. Is it Immortalis? Said
you get
Immortalis.
So you get the two Immortalis. You get the two pinups that are there. You get the character one, and you get the Immortalis poster. Also, actually, and everybody on this campaign gets the Justice. There was and we're gonna update it. If we had reached 100 backers on pre-launch, we pledged to give away the Justice. He's on top of a gargoyle poster.
Okay.
And we're gonna be doing that. So we passed 100 pre-launch followers. I think we got up to 110 or 114. So everybody's going to get 3 posters as opposed to the 2 that are just written there. And that'll come out in the update.
And they get the mini comic with it too, so that's great.
Yes. Yeah.
And then added on to this one here, the 15's the catch up. So you get the digital of Nightfall 1 and 2 in addition to everything you just mentioned previously. Which, guys, if you haven't read it, I mean, you guys donate what you can, but this looks like something I would love to have a print copy of. I only read them digitally because I needed to know what I was talking about for the interview here. But man, the stuff, I can just imagine this printed in my hand and how much fun I would have just holding it up, looking at the artwork, and because that's what I do with comics. I just sit and study the art constantly. I have to read a book like 3 times before I've fully read the book.
I actually have like my busted copies, pretty close because obviously I want to keep some for keepsakes and obviously like the shipping orders. But I have my beat up 2 copies and my issue 3 is actually on the way now.
Yeah. So that's great. The early bird for $20, you also get printed copies of the posters, correct? And the printed copy and the book itself. Yes. Yeah. Oh, both books, the mini comic and the Nightfall.
Yeah, they all ship as one. Yep.
Plus all the previous. So 25 is the physical. I'm trying to see what's the difference here.
Or is that the early bird? The early bird is just
once
you only get 3 days.
Once that's over.
The early bird.
Yeah. Then 40 is the Blacksmith pack. So in that, you're getting printed copies and the digital copies of the books we talked about earlier, of Spirit's Destiny, the Horseman Divine Intervention, and all this digital stuff from previous. 135 is a Nightfall Cameo in issue 4. Huh?
Yes.
That's awesome. And that's the big difference on that one there, which that sounds great. I mean, you could be what you can make
that we showed earlier.
Yeah,
that splash page we showed earlier. So all the people that are at the bottom of that are actually cameos. All the 4 or 5 people at the bottom of that are cameos that were in the first one. Obviously, the first issue cameos. So we've done that for every campaign. We always get 1 panel. If it's a large panel, obviously you might share it with people, but otherwise, you get to literally see yourself immortalized in one of those comics.
Oh, that's awesome. What do you mean here for the 150? Oh, it's the retailer bundle. I was like, why? What's 7 times? What's 50 times? So I didn't get. I missed that it was the retailer bundle. So this is something that I love to see in Kickstarters. I want to see more independent comics in comic shops. Most comic shops that I know are becoming even more indie friendly than they were previously, because mainstream, the big two, aren't really selling like they used to. So, where I'd see, maybe a 3 foot by 5 foot high, whatever shelves of indie comics is now, like 10 or 12 feet of indie comics, and it's kind of like switched up. So I love when I see the retailers in here. Anybody who's a retailer watching this is definitely something to look into. Now if we go into 500, it's create with Wingless. So you're going to give one-on-one coaching on how, besides all the other books and stuff they get, this really becomes more of like we're going to help you create your own comic, correct?
Yeah. We're gonna do a 3-page in the description. Pledge to do a 3-page comic with said person. Obviously, however, I won't say however long, but each step that they're gonna need: the writing, editing, art, finishing, production, all of those production pieces. We're gonna walk them through that, and give them at the end of that, right on the other side of that, which I feel like is the value, is a Wingless quality project, and product. We're not going to leave them with. I've seen a lot of people, again, in these groups and Facebook and stuff like that, where people want to do projects, right? And then they may put their idea out, and let's say it's a micro, flash fiction or something like that, and they'll get it done, right? And they have an artist do it, and it's mediocre at best. And that is no difference to the artist or the creator. It's just not having the mechanisms in place to know what art you need, to know how to get it produced, to know what you want to see, and translate that to the page. You as an artist know sometimes you have a vision in your head, and if you're not doing it yourself, sometimes, or you don't have the ability to. I'm not an artist, I'm not, I'm not an illustrator, is what I should say. I don't have the ability to put that down like Fabio would. But with working with Wingless, we have a multitude of artists that work with us. We have a multitude of colorists that work with us, letterers, obviously writers, editors, and we can get that product to where people want to see it themselves. And that's the goal of that tier.
And that's great. I'm also an educator. I love helping people, achieve their goals, whether it's making a comic, making an animation, making a children's book, a greeting card. I don't care. I mean, I'm happy to help with those things. I've done that as a private tutor. So this is a nice tier. And are you limiting the amount of backers for the 500?
I actually don't believe so. I think it's wide open, if I remember correctly. Like I'm not gonna say, hey, if I get 500 people that want to do it, we're on, guys. But no, as many people that want to do it, and see the benefit of it and see the product we're putting out, and want to see their product look similar. And I want to be, like you said, I want to be able to help, and I want to be able to do it. I love creating, so I'm not going to limit. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's probably maybe I should limit it, but no, I don't want to. I want it to be as large as it can be.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. We have another question from Christian. It says, even the digital tiers, the contributors have to wait till the whole campaign is over?
Well, so Kickstarter the rules of Kickstarter don't allow you to release any. You're not supposed to release any rewards until 2 weeks after. That's in their bylines, especially physical. Now there is you can do digital a week after, and I think that's been our longest amount of time, between 5. It's 4 to 7 days after. So
there is
unfortunately.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, just unfortunately, because of, it's not due to us, because again the issue is done, but just the way Kickstarter is structured, we can't release them early.
Yeah.
And even the copy that Michael got was the media copy.
Yeah, it's a what's the word I'm looking for? It's, I think, a collection of the money officially through Kickstarter, making sure everything has gone through properly to make, because Kickstarter does take a bit out, and they got to make sure that you have your money before they say yes, you've been funded, right? Because that's why you should always ask for a little more. And hold on, he continues with his comment here. Let me get to the screen. And he says, because I saw the previous Nightfall issues were no longer on your site.
So Nightfall for purchase, digital purchase is it's still there. Nightfall 1 and 2 should still be there for digital purchase, and you should get those immediately. So I'm not aware of them not being there, honestly.
Well, we can take a quick look.
Yeah,
if you want.
Yeah.
So let's go to winglessent.com. All right, so here we are. So if we go to the shop, I would assume. Well, no, Justice #1, the sculpture, the custom action figure, your T-shirts. So that's the only comic I see.
No, Nightfall is on the right there.
Nightfall's right here.
1. 1. So we may have to update it and put #2 back up there, but they'll be there.
Yeah, okay. I didn't see that up there. I thought that was a T-shirt. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No.
So I haven't even looked at your website. I didn't get a chance to because I didn't. I only knew about it when you told it to me. So
yeah,
that's great. I like that. You know what? I'm one of those people. I have a little too many Funkos that I stopped collecting, but I love the design of this here. And it wasn't. And I'll just turn. The light's not good, but I'm a big Hanna-Barbera fan, so it's hard to find Hanna-Barbera merch. So I have a whole shelf of Hanna-Barbera pops.
Yeah, nice
up there, and I still have some others. On my. I've only kept the ones I truly enjoy. I'm a big Nightwing fan, so I have some Nightwing. I have Snake Eyes. I have the Phantom there. I'm wondering what else I have around here. I have a few others, but nothing. Nothing insane. I got Michael Corleone on my desk.
Dope. That's dope.
Yeah. I always joke with people and tell them, people say, what would Jesus do? I'd say, no, what would Michael Corleone do? I just joke that way with people all the time.
Nice. Yeah. My mom still calls me Sonny. So, what I mean? I used to be the angry one.
Yeah.
But yeah. I got a couple Funkos too. I just started getting into them. I think I have maybe 5 or 6, but I always make sure, even though a lot of them are cool, I'm like, hey, only get the ones you really, really must have. Leave everything else alone.
Yeah. Wow. I like the cover piece you got here.
Thank you. So that was done by Tiago Silva. He's a great artist, man. Again, I've been blessed, thankful, lucky, whatever you want to call it, with a really, really great art core and art team that works with us, including Dino Agor, Nimish. We just got really, really great guys. And then we can't complain. I can't complain about it at all.
Yeah. No, that's. I'm just looking at everything right now, going through it, just to see the difference. So that's her, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I could have seen that there. Yeah. So nice. Yeah, this is just a nice piece. Is this I see as your main marketing? In my head, this is a poster. This is a phone cover. That's
it's one of our best-selling posters at conventions. We just I just got back one over the weekend, AfroCon over the weekend, and that piece went really well. I actually have it up on my wall above me. You can't see it, but it's on my wall above me. It's just a really great piece. It just came together really, really, really well. Real dynamic, and it was done for Nightfall 2. So I mean, I love it. I love it to death.
Yeah. It reminds me. I don't know why I'm getting this vibe, but I'm getting the old Disney Gargoyles cartoon. Looking at this right now,
I think the coloring is very reminiscent of that. You always get that also from like the Dark Wings. Justice had anything like that. That
Yeah,
real dark gray to black wing thing going
yeah,
there. The burned out city. And man, I love Gargoyles. If we're talking about lore, Gargoyles was, I think
yeah.
it was like a great cartoon, obviously, when it came out. When it made that, I'm gonna say it was a switch, but when it flipped the switch on Avalon, and now you were dealing with like Oberon, and you're dealing with all these things, I was like,
Mhm.
dude, like, it just,
Yeah.
you know,
No,
I
that
loved
was
it.
one of my I loved that cartoon. And just say Christian just got the PDF #1. He goes 400 megabytes. Talk about high res.
Yeah.
So,
So we've, I promise you, for issue 2, it's a lot better. We had some formatting issues with #1, and like formatting issues we couldn't change, and we still can't change to this day. It just issue 1 kind of is what it is,
yeah,
unfortunately. But the rest of them, trust me, way under that. But we still got the high res going. We figured out the issue, and so
yeah.
moving forward, we won't take up
It'll
that
be
much space.
it'll
I
be yeah.
promise.
So, but yeah, wow, this is some good stuff, man. I love what you're doing here.
Thank you,
Um,
thank you.
yeah, no, this is some really really great stuff here. And I'm going to be wrapping up in a minute, but man, I got to say, like I said, um I just read your books over the last couple of days, and
Mhm.
I've been very impressed with what I've seen. And he says, just say, he says, no worries, I'll read it tonight. So enjoy
Thanks a
it,
lot,
man.
man.
It's a good introduction to a much larger story arc, you know.
Yeah,
So you're gonna
yeah.
want issue 2 right after. That's how I felt. It was like, I'm so glad I have it. But yeah, no, I love what you're doing. It's hard to know everything going on in the indie comic world, or just indie world in general, because there's so many people making stuff. So until someone reached out to me about you guys, I never heard of you.
Yeah,
And I'm thrilled that I know about you now, because I need to follow what you're doing. I want to continue because I love the idea of the way you handle mythology. I'm loving the stories that I've read already. The art is gorgeous. The writing is very well done. Um, so I'm happy that now you've come into that circle that I'm getting to get to look at and follow and see what more you produce. So I'm very happy that I've gotten to know your work.
I appreciate that.
Um,
I appreciate it.
and I just gotta say, thank you for doing what you're doing, man. And, it's always great to meet creators. Always happy to know there's new stories coming out. There's something for everyone. This book, in my opinion, if I'm wrong or you think you could add something, please do so. Anybody who loves mythology, Christian mythology, any type of mythology, this this is the book for you. Stories about angels and demons and magic and mysticism. It's all in there. And this, and I'll say this right now, I could see this as either a live action movie or an animated film. This is definitely
Man, so awesome.
something that, like, it transfers well into other mediums and doesn't need to be changed. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
don't change
yeah, so
anything.
I appreciate that. And like, well, so I don't know. So my dream, honestly, like, and this is personal. I haven't talked about it with anybody from Wingless or whoever else,
Yeah.
right? Like, again, I am a lover of animation. So I
Mhm.
would love to see this. Like, I would love to see this as a 2 hour legit animation. You know what I mean? I would love
Mhm.
this to be the animated project that sets American animation on the same plane as anime, right? As Japanese animation, where they take it
Yeah.
seriously as a movie. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's not
Yeah.
just, hey, this is a kid thing that was kind of hard. And I don't
Yeah.
think that, like, I don't think we've had that project in America. I think we've had the potential for it. With
Mhm.
stuff like Treasure Planet, like the
Yeah.
look, like, oh my God, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Certain movies like that, but I don't think we've ever reached that pinnacle of like, oh no, this is animated, but this is dope as hell just as a movie.
Yeah.
So I would love for it to be something like that. But at the same time, I genuinely love the story itself. Like you said earlier, you're like, man, I want issue 4 and 5. I feel the exact same way. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no BS. I feel like, oh man, I love issue 3. Issue 3 is great, but I want issue 4. And once issue 4 is done, I'm gonna be like, yeah, no, I love issue 4, but I want issue 5. Because I feel like the story is expansive, it's fun, it's adventurous. It's like I don't want to say it's old school comic, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it is. It's that fun, big story building kind of stuff that the big two are still doing their thing, and they still are who they are. And you're gonna get like Immortal Hulk, that's amazing. You're gonna get X-Men, that's amazing. But it's very up and down. I feel like with indie comics, there's a trajectory that's hitting.
Yeah, we're hitting,
and I'm happy to be part of that.
And when you're saying fun, I'm going to say this is more, I'm going to say probably more like what I would enjoy in the 80s, a little more than 90s. I mean, it kind of has that 90-esque kind of a little bit more story, but like, it's like, I don't want to use this con because it's completely different, but it's kind of like the Dark Phoenix saga in a way, or a Crisis on Infinite Earth story where it's just epic. And it's just, you're reading it, you're having fun, but there's going to be like, oh crap moments in there. Yeah. And like, so that's how I see it and those were books that were fun to me. I'm one of these guys, listen, I don't knock any comics, but I was not a big fan of a lot of the comics in the 90s. I didn't, I read a lot of stuff, but I read specifically what I liked. I tried books, and if it wasn't for me, I just put them down. So a lot of the popular stuff that was getting huge and all this stuff, those weren't for me. So I learned to appreciate them later, but it wasn't. They weren't. I felt the fun leaving the comics.
I think that the 90s stuff was. I love the look of the 90s stuff, but again, if we're being like really, really honest, so don't get me wrong, I love Jim Lee's and Chris Claremont's run on X-Men, the Mutant Genesis stuff, obviously. There's certain ones that are like iconic and great. But if we're being very, very honest, especially like the Maverick guys, if we're talking about Image, their comics look great, but their stories were really lacking. Honestly, they were cool, but you never really got meat and potatoes. There were no real stakes because you really didn't have any investment because these things had just come out. Oh, you just killed such and such, but I just met him, so it doesn't matter. And he comes back in 2 weeks. So I think the 90s did lose in a lot of ways in terms of that. And I agree with you. Like Crisis on Infinite Earths, you're not gonna have an Image comparison. Even though they did big Crisis books, it just it wasn't the same.
They didn't give you enough time to love the characters, But also when you're looking at something like Crisis. You're looking at Superman, who's been around since the 30s, Batman since the 40s. They've gone through things, and then we had cartoons of them. Like before I even knew of comic books, I knew of the Super Friends. I knew of Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends. I knew those characters from there before I started buying them in comic books. And then in the 90s, everything and I've talked about this before. When you have characters that are getting huge like Spawn and all this stuff, you need to do something to start shaking up the characters that everyone's loved, right? Because now you need to compete with the sales of Image. So what do? They kill Superman. And that death of Superman, which though I enjoyed it, I'm not going to lie, I teared up when I flipped to that 2-page spread where Lois is holding Superman and it says the day a Superman died. I mean, don't get me wrong, I teared up at that. But then what happens? Batman gets his back broken. Wolverine loses his adamantium. The Thing gets part of his face torn off. All the Dr. Fate, who's like my all-time favorite superhero. Whatever happens, and they got to melt down the helmet of Naboo to make these fate darts or whatever. And I was like, you just destroyed everything that was great that I love. Yeah. And I mean, and the only thing I really enjoyed out of all those gimmicky books was the death of Superman. I thought that was handled very well. Yeah. But then when the return came, I was like, it just kind of went all over the place. So like, the fun, like I'm saying, the fun wasn't there in the 90s as much as it was in the 80s when I was reading. you know?
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all.
Yeah. But I like that people are taking now, and what the indies are doing is they're taking what they loved from the eras that they loved, and they are writing better stories. They are, you know, we're getting really good art out of indie books. I mean, you know, like I've seen a lot of people who still like the look of the 90s books and still kind of draw in that style. But best part, mullet Superman.
Yeah. I loved Black Suit Superman. Yeah.
Oh, I did too. No, but what I'm saying is I'm seeing like you said, Image in the beginning didn't have their stories down right.
Yeah.
But now I'm seeing indie creators get really well, you know, drafted stories and artists who can draw from that era. It's like you're kind of seeing what Image could have been in the beginning, even though they did well for themselves. I can't knock any of them. Yeah. You know, I have goals of getting a couple of them on the show just to talk, because I you know, I'm not a huge Spawn fan, but I respect Todd McFarlane for what he did so much business wise. Like, I would just love to talk to him, have him on the show. And then you get someone like Rob Liefeld, who every time you see him in an interview, it's like he turns into a 12-year-old kid who's just super excited to be talking about comics. And the passion that guy has just rubs off on the people around him. And like, so there too, I'd love to interview just for that reason, you know, just for those two reasons. One out of the passion and one out of just the intelligence and the brains of this one guy who, I mean, there's still, I mean, of all the characters, Spawn's still like really the only one going besides Savage Dragon, you know?
Right. Yeah. He's 300 and some odd, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah. What do you say? Shaq, which one was that for? Was that for, when you said Shaq, was that for, what was that movie Steel?
Oh wow! Ooh, throwback. That's a deep cut, man.
Ooh,
ouch.
That was that was a terrible movie, man. That was a terrible movie, and I hate to say it, but yeah, because I looked forward to it. I enjoyed Steel as a character.
I think we all did, but yeah, no, it was a horrible movie. You do a Steel movie now, I mean, well, you can't really, because it's just going to be Iron Man. But you know,
well, you know, they're using him in the Superman and Lois. If you've watched that,
yeah, I heard. Well, I heard the portrayal is pretty good.
It's I like their interpretation of him. I do.
Yeah. That's...
and what was it? I've been rewatching Young Justice, and I think they used him in an episode, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember the Young Justice card, and I like the way they portrayed him in there. So I'm in season, because there's going to be a season 4. It hasn't been officially. I don't think they officially announced it. I think it's going to be announced when they do that DC like virtual con they're doing in October. But I was on IMDb because I wanted to look. I'm like, oh, that voice sounds familiar. Who is the actor playing that character? And I'm like, it said season 4, 2021, and there's all these episodes, but no description. So I'm like, I'm getting a season 4. Nice. I'm getting a season. Like, I that is one of my favorite interpretations of the characters. You know, I love the designs of the story.
Season 1 and 2, but season 3 was a little lackluster.
Well, yeah, I mean they were, well, each season, you know, had its own thing. So season 1 was really Teen Titans. Season 2 was what they call it, Invasion. So it was really kind of a Blue Beetle kind of esque thing. And season 3 they're calling the Outsiders, and you're really dealing with like Geoforce and you know, and those characters that were part of the Outsiders in some way. So, or I think some of them might have been part of what was it, the Infinity Inc. there. I think some of the characters, so they're kind of playing around with some stuff. So it's nice to see characters that you would never see, in my opinion, just be brought in, and I'm okay with it. Some stuff, you know, they handle weird, but I'm happy with what you know. With what I'm seeing.
Season 4, no doubt, like easily. Like, you know, with no hesitation. But,
So again, let me wrap up the second time, man. If you can, just hang out backstage for a minute. But again, thank you for coming on. Thank you for doing what you're doing. Is there anything you want to say to the audience before I drop you backstage?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody who tuned in. Thank you guys for supporting the project. Thank you guys for pre-ordering. Thank you guys again for supporting Wingless Comics. We have obviously much more in store. We've got 2 more issues of Nightfall after this. We've got our ongoing series, Her, Justice, Lux, Immortalis. We're not going anywhere. And like Michael said, we're going to continue doing some great storytelling and having some great art. So thank you guys. I hope to see you guys soon.
All right. Thank you. All right, guys. So if you haven't done it, make sure you go to the website, check out the stuff. Go to the Kickstarter, which I forgot to put the link in the comments. So let me do that right now. Before we go, you guys can click the link and donate to the page. And I'm just going to do a quick refresh and see if he's got more. Nope. He's still at the same price. So come on, we got to get him more money. We got to reach this goal. I know he's still got 29 days to go, but we could do it really quick. I think this is a fantastic book. I'm thrilled I got to read it. You guys know me. I'm very honest. I'm very happy to be aware now of Wingless Comics. I want to see where this company goes, where the books go. I think Brian is doing an awesome job with his storytelling in the sense of writing. He's got some great artists behind him. He's created some really great characters I think you're really going to enjoy. And you know, I guess that's it for tonight, man. I hope you guys had fun. Thank you to everyone who commented. I will be back next week with another guest. You guys have a great night, rest of your week, and I'll see you soon. All right, bye, guys.